Hi, this is Simon Phillips. Welcome back to the latest installment of Networking Not Working live here on Facebook and YouTube. So we're now at week 6 in this series, and today is all about how to build your reputation online. But I thought it was worth pausing for a moment to just reflect on the journey so far and understand some of the things that we've covered already. So if you've missed any of the webinars, the 5 that we've done so far, we started with what is networking in the first place, what's it all about, and importantly, what's it not about. So that's where we started. Then we moved on to how big should my network be, and we considered the different approaches that people take to networking, whether that's offline or online. And we looked at all the different environments in which you can, from which you can build your network. So that was week 2. Then we moved on to your networking style. How do you approach networking? What are the characteristics, if you like, of the way you go about building relationships? And we realized that of much more importance than that was reflecting and responding, if you like, to the styles of the people that you meet whilst you're networking, whether that be online or offline. And we'll certainly reflect on that a little bit more today as we go about building our reputation online. The 4th week was looking very much at how to work a room. So those live events that we attend, whether they be parties or conferences or meetings, how do we go about generating interest in what we do, if that's important to us? And actually what we discovered was the best way of doing that is by not going in there to sell, and instead go into those live networking environments, looking to find some people that you can connect with to see if you can help them and encourage and connect them to the people that they're looking to do that with to build their business. Because in the process, you will start to build some great relationships with people who will automatically want to refer you on later as that relationship develops. Last week, we then looked at all of the online or the main online tools for building your networks, getting that transformation from your offline activity online, and also looking at forging new relationships just online that you may well transfer offline, but even if you don't, you can still have you can still build some really meaningful relationships online. A great example for that in my life is a fantastic friend I have called Nick Smith, who has been alongside me throughout this journey over the last few years online. He's helped me with a lot of the technical stuff that you see here on Facebook and YouTube, and also just with the other activities in terms of building the online mastering time program. So Nick's been there and has been a confidant, if you like, and somebody that I can turn to just get some things fixed quickly, but also do some strategic thinking about how all this goes. Now, I've actually never met Nick in person, but that doesn't seem to matter. We just crack on and get things done, and we have a mutually supportive relationship in many respects. So it's not all about needing to meet up with everybody in your network. And increasingly, as we build networks around the world, that's just not going to be possible physically. So we're going to really investigate that a bit more today in terms of how do we go about building our reputation online. So that's what we're going to do. And because I think this is really important for 2 reasons. One is your online persona, the online reputation that you're building, will support and reinforce your offline activities. And secondly, it's really all about how do we go about building our networks online, because we have multiple networks online. Some of them overlap, but all of them will effectively be able to see you through all of those different platforms that you're using, whether that's Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+. It really doesn't matter. As I mentioned on a previous webinar, it's almost pointless trying to present yourself as multiple personalities online, unless you want people to see multiple personalities, but just be aware that they will see everything. There's very little that you can do online these days that isn't visible. And so you need to bear that in mind as you go about your activities online. Be transparent and just be you wherever you are. And that won't actually then need to be mindfully managed. That will actually just happen automatically. So whether it's LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus as the main online tools, try to present a really consistent images, and we'll get back to that in just a moment. But why is this important? Well, I can tell you from my own experience, I haven't spent, I've hardly spent a penny on marketing in the 15 years that I've been running my business. Almost everything that I've done in terms of expanding my activities has been done through networking, whether that be through building online relationships or offline, whether that be through active networking or just building friendships and relationships online, and giving people an opportunity to understand what it is I do professionally. As a result, I get referred quite consistently into different client situations, and also my reputation has been growing online to the extent that customers now call me to say, well, we saw this, we read that, we understand that you're involved in this sort of activity. Are you able to help? And that's fantastic. So networking is absolutely my #1 marketing tool. And increasingly, online activity is becoming the marketing tool of choice for virtually all sizes of business. So whatever business you're in, whatever type of organization you work for, think very carefully before you dismiss the power of Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google Plus as part of your marketing toolkit. So that's why this is really important. Whether you're a one-man band or a small business, a medium-sized enterprise, or a large organization, getting smart and savvy about using and utilizing these online tools is going to save you a lot of time and money. But let's bring it back to the straightforward process of building our networks. It's all about building relationships, and that's why the 3 C's that I talk about in the book are critical. But before I do that, let me just read a quick quote about this, thoughts about building our reputation online. And the quote I'm going to read you is from Warren Buffett, the famous investor and philanthropist. He says, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it." If you think about that, you'll do things differently. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. What can you do to ensure that you don't ruin your reputation? So that's sort of like the starting point. But more importantly, for I'm guessing the majority of people watching today, what can we do to proactively build the type of reputation that we would like online? So the 3 C's. The first one is clarity. Why are you online? What type of reputation would you like? Where would you like your business? If you are in business, where would you like the things that you do to be seen, to be promoted, to be referred, and to be just increasingly known about online? So being really clear on your purpose is absolutely essential. From there, we can then do some very, very simple things. And the most simple is to create a consistent message or consistent profile, if you like, online that's you represented in very similar ways, whichever platform you're using. But to come back to clarity, let me share a story that I do talk about in the book. It's of someone I was mentoring recently. They were looking to move into a different career and had discovered me online and asked for some support. So basically, they were trying to move from a very project management oriented role into a more executive and strategic role, because that was where their passion was. They were absolutely it was a very visible change whenever they got onto the topic of strategy. And yet, if you looked at their LinkedIn profile, which was primarily just a CV plotting their rise, if you like, throughout their career into bigger and bigger and bigger project and program roles. So if you read that, you would basically just deduce that this was an incredibly competent program manager. And so imagine being a recruiter online, you land on that profile, and that's the message that was screaming at you from their CV, if you like, on LinkedIn. What we were discussing was, what's the thing that is your real passion? Now, if your real passion is linked to your career aspirations, then that's great, and that's what we're going to discuss in a moment. If your passion is going out there and making a difference and being really heavily involved in charitable activities, for example, there's no reason why you can't absolutely populate your online platforms with that information, because what that tells a prospective employer, if that's important to you, is that those activities are what stimulate you, what interests you, and you will, potentially give your all in a work environment, but that is what really excites you and gets you out of bed in the morning. So there's no harm, and in fact there's probably every good reason why, if you have a particular passion in life, that's what you need to demonstrate through your online activities. Now let's go back to this individual, the one who's really passionate about being involved in strategic stuff. What we did was we looked at the career activities that he'd done and started to pick out the elements of that really demonstrated his strategic competence. So, it wasn't just that he had a bit of a wishful concept of being involved in strategy. That it really did excite him. He had a lot of knowledge about it, and there were certain aspects of the way he'd gone about project and program management which demonstrated his strategic insight. So that's what we really pulled out, and we emphasized it. We put that there in his headline. It became part of his description, and each of his roles, especially the more recent ones, we chose to pull out and highlight his strategic capability. So be mindful of the type of message that you're creating, and be really clear through your various profiles online where you'd like to be, rather than what you've done in the past. So that's the first C, clarity. Get really clear on what it is, the image, if you like, that you're trying to create online. From there we go to, as I was indicating earlier, to consistency. Very basic. Let's get those profile pictures consistent across your online tools. Let's present a very transparent, open and honest image of you, such that wherever I encounter you online, it's the same person that I'm bumping into. It's not someone who's wacky and jokey in one environment and then incredibly serious in another. It's actually just you, and your personality should shine through whichever platform I bump into you. So yes, get the pictures right. That's the basic. And then think about your personality. What is it that you enjoy doing? Because let me give you an example of another really great friend of mine, Ian Cleverton. You know, one of the most professional people I've ever met in the banking sector, and you know, that's undoubted. But then what I find online is someone who's absolutely passionate about creating and developing live music through his band, The Whoas, and you know, basically, it's exactly the same person. So he's not trying to present himself as being any one different. He's just showing different people through the various online platforms that he's a person with interests outside of work. But guess what? His professional attitude and his sense of fun comes through whichever platform you encounter him, and whatever he's doing, whether that's talking about the latest project he's pursuing in his professional activities, or talking about the latest album that he's releasing online. So you can be consistent regardless of the particular content that you're talking about. It's not about putting on different personas or different hats. It's a little bit like when we talked about your networking styles. This is not about you being a different person. This is about you just adapting different styles to engage the people that you wish to network with. And that will automatically make you more an attractive person, because people will sense authenticity. So just be you, share by all means your interests and your passions, but just do that in a way that's consistent, and people will naturally be attracted to you online. So we've talked about clarity, talked about consistency. The third C is all about care. And you will no doubt have heard the phrase, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And in simple networking terms, that's you can demonstrate how much you care for people by asking them questions about what they're doing, and be curious about their activities. So think about that in a Facebook context. Very often people on Facebook are talking about their the latest marathon that they've run, or the latest charity that they're raising money for, or some other major life activities. Be interested, show them that you care and that their activities are of interest to you. Again, you can't fake this. You genuinely have to be interested in them. Now, that doesn't mean to say you've got to spend hours and hours online liking and commenting on every single thing that your friends and your networks are doing. But what it does mean is use some of the tools for to speed this process up. So just pressing a like on somebody's activity when they've shared something on Facebook, or pressing the favorite star on Twitter, is sufficient to let the other individual know that you are interested in them, that you've liked what they're doing, and that you've seen it. And no doubt when you have an opportunity to catch up with them, you'll have a conversation about that. So use the tools, if you like, for getting the most out of those very quick social interactions that you can do. So showing people that you care is important in terms of building your reputation, because you will become known to them as somebody who is genuinely interested in them. And guess what? They will no doubt return the favor. In fact, about 20 minutes ago or 25 minutes ago, I posted something on Twitter. It was an article all about showing people that you love them. And what it was, what the article that I linked for people through there to have a read, was just all about that point about reciprocation. So you have to give out into your networks what it is you're looking to get back. So a number of you have sent me emails as we were getting closer to this topic, asking, you know, how can I build a bigger business by using these tools online? How can I promote my business? How can I use Facebook to generate more customers and more sales? And really, it's the wrong question to be asking. The question you should be asking is, how can I build my networks? Because if you build your networks correctly, then people will want to refer you. They'll want to send you customers. They will want to promote you all over their timelines and in their online networks, because you are becoming a trusted advisor, a trusted friend. And who wouldn't want to shout from the rooftops when their friend is launching something new in their business, something exciting and fun? So generate that that type of mindset in your networks by going out there and being a friend and being a trusted advisor for the things that they're doing. Build strong connections, and then your networks will repay you, and you won't ever have to go out and spend a lot of money on marketing again. So so that sort of law of reciprocation is really important, and concludes, if you like, the 3 C's that I wanted to talk to you about today, because what it's all about is something that my friend Rory Murray talked about. He talked about something called return on reputation. If you build a strong reputation online, you will see a return in terms of the people that are interested in what you're doing, and the people that are willing to promote what you're doing without even being asked. So a good example of that is thinking about the type of profile you're presenting out to the world when it comes to something like LinkedIn. So let's say you're in the job market and you'd like to put across the best possible picture of yourself as you get started. So what happens in most cases is somebody realizes they're either going to be made redundant, or they're looking to get a new job, and they suddenly think, right, I better go and brush up my LinkedIn profile. Well, what should you focus on as you're brushing up that profile? Well, it's very simple, really. It's about having a great photo on there and thinking about how can you demonstrate your personality through the headline and the description and the main activities that you're pulling out on your profile. So if you are by nature a gregarious and happy person, how is that demonstrated through your profile? I've met some really amazingly fun people offline, and then when I followed up online and had a look at their LinkedIn profile, it's been the most barren wasteland you can imagine. So absolutely get your character and your personality across on LinkedIn, because that's what people are going to see, and that's what is going to attract people when they land on your profile. So that's just the basics. Some other things in terms of protecting your reputation is to be mindful. Think about what you're saying, think about what you're posting online. You don't want to give people the impression that you don't care, that you don't value other people and the activities that they're up to. So think about engaging people according to their style. Remember, we talked about that when we were talking about networking styles earlier in the program. It's about meeting people where they are online and engaging with them proactively, not waiting for everybody to come to you, but proactively, as people maybe connect with you online, whether it be through Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, send them a message and engage with them and find out what they're up to right now. So what you're looking to do is create a professional image online. And the best way to do that in terms of the conversations and the comments that you make is ask yourself, what would I say if I was sat next to this person right now? Would I send that caustic comment? Would I be potentially hostile or aggressive? Or is it more likely that I would temper that, even if I was a bit frustrated by what they were commenting on, and actually engage them in some sort of debate about the things that they're saying? So be careful. If you see something that angers you, you don't want to necessarily respond. So be mindful of how you're interacting with people online, and also don't undersell yourself if you are contacted by somebody who has a genuine interest in what you do. Yeah, be a self-promoter, if you like, and the best way of doing that is to just ask all your friends to look at your various online profiles and send you 3 words that reading your profiles prompts in them, because that will give you some real great insights as to whether or not you're coming across in the way that you want to, and in terms of your professional reputation online. So a quick market survey works wonders in terms of giving you instant feedback on what it is you're doing and how you're presenting yourself online. Be careful about the images you present online. I talk in the book about a number of case studies of people who've lost jobs, actually others that have been hauled into police and court environments because of some of the things they've done online. So be mindful of that. Be careful about what you're posting. And then think about association online. If you want to create a professional image online, then think about who you interact with as well as anything else. And I don't mean it's about who you're not interacting with. It's more about who do you proactively go out there and try to connect with. So if you have aspirations of being a significant person in your industry, and let's face it, why wouldn't you? Then seek out the people who are influencers in that area. So if you're building a sales business, go and find the top sales trainers, the top sales experts, the top sales authors online. You can connect with them instantly on Twitter. You can find out what groups they're involved in on Facebook, and you can have conversations. You can follow them in groups on Facebook and LinkedIn and Google+. So you can go and interact and find out how they do things. And guess what? The more you associate with those real professionals, the bigger the reputation you'll start to gain, because by association, you will now be seen as somebody who moves in the same circles as all of those people. So think carefully about that and think about who you can team up with. I have in my own network a nephew who is an absolute amazing tattoo artist, and I mean fantastic art in the way that he goes about things. And he's really fortunate in having an uncle who is a fantastic photographer. Those two need to get together and work out how they can promote each other's businesses in a seamless way. So there's things you can do that are very simple, just by looking at your network differently, looking at the skills and the expertise and the amazing reputations, if you like, that people in your networks already have, and think strategically about how you can utilize that. So some very quick tips that I've got here that I want to share with you for some of these online arenas. So LinkedIn, make it count. We've talked previously about getting into the groups and responding to questions and posing questions of your own within your network. So those are the sort of the value added activities on LinkedIn to build your reputation. And be responsive. If somebody sends you a message, get back to them as quick as you can. So those are 2 top tips for LinkedIn. For Facebook, think about starting your own page. So you're watching this potentially on the NetworkingNotWorking page on Facebook, and that's just one of the outlets, if you like, for the activities that I'm involved in. So think about starting a page that reflects your particular expertise or the thing that you're passionate about, and you will attract people into that have similar interests. and or are attracted to the services that you provide. The key on Facebook, though, is just to be you. You know, don't try and present yourself as anything other than you, because people will see through it straight away. Twitter is where you can interact effortlessly with those industry leaders that I talked about by just retweeting some of the great content they have. And you'll find that in no time at all, they'll start responding to you and interacting with you, and who knows where that can lead. But you need to engage with people daily, have conversations with them on Twitter. Remember, it's just like having a conversation with them at a conference. It's not a public broadcast. It's actually just something that's going on between you, and somebody else may overhear it. It's as simple as that. It's not a public broadcast. Think about looking at tools like Clout and Cred to understand how far your influence is spreading, if you like, and where the key people are in your networks that you can support and may be able to support you as you build your reputation. Okay, that's where I'm going to finish this week. Just running slightly over, but next week, it's all about networking at work. So how do you go about building those great relationships that are going to sustain you, not just necessarily in the organization you're working in at the moment, but some of the relationships you're going to need to build to develop your career over time. Okay, have a great week, and think about utilizing some of those tools. If you have any questions whatsoever, type them in the boxes below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But other than that, I will see you here this time next week. Have a great one. Cheers.